In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this image with this underwater camera case, and then I'll take you into Photoshop and show you the edit layer by layer. What is up everybody, welcome to the video. My name is Sean Mundy, I'm a photographer, a digital artist, I make music, and like I said in the intro, today I'm going to show you how I made this image with this underwater casing, and then we'll go into Photoshop and I'll show you the breakdown layer by layer. Now usually for my Photoshop breakdown videos, if you're familiar at all with my videos, and if you aren't, welcome. I hope you stick around and subscribe to the channel as well, that always helps. But for my Photoshop breakdown videos, I usually will write out a script for every video and then I'll shoot each line basically, because I'm pretty terrible at talking on camera without a script. But right now, I'm just talking straight off the dome to you, and I wanted to try this format out a little bit. So if there's a bit more stuttering in this video, I apologize, but this is the only way I'll get better. So let's just go right into it. So this image is called Depths. It's an idea I shot back in 2015, and my idea basically was I just wanted to shoot some kind of conceptual images underwater. And obviously to do that you need a case. So I went on Amazon and I found this one here. It's called the Dicapac, I don't know how to pronounce it. Couldn't tell you. This is what the box looks like when you get it, like that. So it wasn't too expensive. I think it was $50 to $100 at most. I actually found it through a Brooke Shaden video that she recorded years ago, like probably like one of her first videos she did. And I stumbled upon it after looking up cases. So I figured I'd give it a shot, and it served me well over the years, considering how cheap it is especially. So basically you have these little finger holes on the side, so you can actually touch your camera and change the settings, although I do recommend changing your settings while the camera is not in the bag, because it is a bit difficult to maneuver. And depending on the depth or the length of your lens, it's a bit hard to stretch this out or keep it stretched out. So for example, I shot this photo with a 50mm lens, I want to say, or actually no, I shot this with an 18 to 55, a kit lens. So I think it was zoomed all the way out so I can get kind of a first person perspective look, which is what I was going for with this image. And it's part of a series that's been unofficially happening for a few years, and I'll definitely actually give it a title and finish it one day. But for now, this image and a few others exist that are first person, and I'll probably do another video breaking down. This one actually, which is on screen right now, is one of my favorite images I've made, and it's also in this perspective. So I'll probably break that one down in the future as well. But for now, let's get back to this. So yeah, this casing, it's great for the price, although like I said, I recommend changing all of your settings while you're out of the water. So for this shot in particular, I knew I would have to hold, I taped the hood, because this opens up quite a bit. So if you do have like a telephoto lens or something, and there's actually a hole here for your fingers. I just wanted to make a quick little addition to this video, because I realized while editing that I didn't actually clarify what I meant in this section where I'm talking about the actual casing itself. When I say holes, I mean that there are sleeves for your fingers to adjust your camera and to change your zoom or your settings in general. So obviously there's no holes, there's no water getting in. The bag is basically a Ziploc bag in a sense. It's like a Ziploc top that you seal, and then there's Velcro, and then you roll it. So there's multiple levels to prevent the water from getting in. So it's pretty sturdy and safe, so I definitely recommend it. If you can do anything, I recommend doing whatever you can to your camera outside of the water. So what I did was I knew I would be focusing on my hand, reaching out at the other hand here. And this is actually the concept sketch for context of what I wanted the final to look like. And I think I actually succeeded pretty well. It's almost the exact same thing. And so I knew I would be focusing on my hand. And so I just basically focused on my hand out of the water. I extended my arm the exact length that it would be. And I set my aperture really high, so I knew I had a good, I had space to work with. So for example, if I didn't stretch my arm out as much, it would most likely be in focus more or less. And I also knew that people are more forgiving, or I would be more forgiving if I saw a photo that was taken underwater that didn't have like tack sharp focus, just because it's underwater and things can go awry and you're trying to not breathe and you're trying to pose and frame a shot while holding your breath. It adds an extra element to taking a photo that you're not particularly used to if you don't do underwater photography that often, which I definitely do not. And one thing, people tell me I talk too fast, so I apologize if I'm speaking quickly. I'll definitely try to slow down, take it easy, you know? So yeah, so that's how I shot the image. I used this, and I got a buddy of mine, my friend Mario, to just stick his arm into the water and just off of a dock, and I think I put rocks in my pocket actually to help myself go down a bit more, because I needed to kind of bob at a certain point a few feet into the water and I didn't want to be too deep, and I didn't want to be too close to the top. So it took maybe about like 9 or 10 attempts, but at the end I got this one, and I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. So we're gonna go into Photoshop now, and we'll go through the edit, which is actually quite simple, and let's go. So here we are in Photoshop now. This is the final image, as you can see. I'm gonna turn all these layers off, and as this would suggest, this is the raw file. So like most photos that you take underwater, they will be very cloudy. You will likely have to expose higher than you would think you need to. So you're gonna have to do some tests. Don't beat yourself up if the results are not what you're looking for right away, because shooting underwater is completely different than shooting on land. So this was the raw file, and even just this alone, it's a pretty good photo. I managed to nail the exposure, and pointing at the sun also makes things a bit complicated because you got this giant light right in front of you. And I really just wanted my hand to kind of disappear behind the sun and to kind of add an extra element other than just the hands reaching at each other. And so, yeah, the framing I really liked, and the refraction of the tree line in the background here looks really cool as well. And there's little bubbles and everything. So let's go through the edit. So this is the raw process. And now I know looking at this seems a bit better, but my intention when I go into editing is that I want the image to be as flat as possible. And this kind of goes across multiple disciplines. I know for video, for example, and I've learned a bit more of it after doing these videos, that you want to start with something as neutral as possible. It's very similar to producing and mixing as well. You want a neutral sound or a flat sound. So my idea for this was to kind of bring down the highlights and to bring up the shadows a little bit. And I do a bit more of that in the edit. But the sun was just a bit too intense here for the starting point. I knew I would probably bring the brightness back, but I wanted to have a bit more control with it, and that's how I approached this edit. And so next I just have another smart object of the same file here, just adding a bit of clarity, and I'll zoom in so you can really see more details. But this really makes the highlight and the mid-tone contrast pop more, so you can kind of pull out the details of the wrinkles in the skin. Like I said, I kind of nailed the focus of this, and I think this was probably shot at like f10 or f9 or something. So like I said, I had a wide window to shoot at, and I knew it would be relatively in focus, but this turned out pretty well. And these little dots in the water and everywhere really turned out nicely. I'm really happy with this. And then here I'm just removing the dock, just the edge of the dock. I did a kind of not so great job, but the color edit actually hides it, so it's okay. So I actually kind of really like the colors of the raw file, but with the sun here, I knew I wanted a bit of contrast between the colors to not just have it be completely blue. So my idea was to make the light coming towards the figure in the image be a bit warmer than the cool tones in the rest of the image. And the bottom here is definitely maybe a bit too dark. It would be interesting to see some detail maybe, although I don't think there really is any. Yeah, there's nothing there. So it just makes it a bit more dramatic. So I'm not disappointed with this edit at all. I like it, but it's always interesting looking at old photos. You know, you kind of want to do something different sometimes. And this is 5 years old now, so I would have maybe approached it a bit differently today. So let's go through the more nuanced edits that I'm doing here. So this is just brightening up some details on the arm. I really liked it's out of focus. It starts gaining focus right around my finger, around the index and the thumb. You can see here it starts getting really sharp. And this hand is like perfectly in focus. So I'm just adding a bit of detail here just with a curves adjustment, brightening it up a bit. Weird waveform there. And then brightening the entire bottom up a bit more, again, trying to make it a bit flatter. Now here I'm actually making it pop even more, basically doing very similar to what I did with the clarity adjustment, but it's also bringing out a bit more saturation in the colors because it's on a curves layer and it's on normal. If I was on luminosity, it wouldn't affect the colors as much, but I actually liked how much the colors popped with that, so I was okay with that. Here, just another general brightening layer, and you'll notice on the right that my masks are generally not accounting for the top because that's where the sun is. I didn't want it to keep getting brighter. If I turn the masks off, yeah, the top is just completely blown out, and I did not want that yet. And here's where I even wrote one of these. This is where the warmth is coming from. So it's just this adjustment layer here, just a color balance adjustment layer. And I'm just cranking the reds up and I'm touching the purples and yellows, trying to give it a bit of an orangey brown kind of look. So you can see that I it's basically just touching. I mean, it's doing everything, but you'll see later with the further edits that it seems like it's only affecting the top of the image, which is what I was going for. And so then, now this image, we're blowing out the sky a bit, but I'm okay with that. And also, I've mentioned this definitely several times in my other images, or my other edit videos rather, that when you're editing anything with a lot of highlight information or a lot of shadows, you're going to want to edit on white or black. You can edit on medium gray if you want, just to check your color cast and things like this. It'll come out a bit more and you'll notice it more. But knowing that this is a sky and it's pure white, I decided to put a white there just to make sure that this wasn't actually pure white. I didn't want the contrast to be too intense in this image. So here, I actually don't know what this is doing. This might just be an extra curves layer. Here we're bringing out the darks. Down here we're really cutting down the details and just leaving the mid-tones around the fingers and the highlights around the tips of the fingers. Bit of hue and saturation, desaturating some of the bottom, it looks like. Yeah. And then another curves layer that's not doing anything. Oh, yeah, it is. It's apparently bringing down the darks just a bit. Oh, but it's at 0%. Either way, sometimes I leave curves layers there. So that's basically the edit for this. Pretty substantial difference. Might have edited a bit different today, but like I said, so main takeaways: overexposed, you're going to be underwater. Focus and adjust all of your settings as much as possible above water, and be careful. Obviously, you don't want to hurt yourself. But yeah, so that's it for this breakdown. I hope you enjoyed this and hope you got something out of this. If you are looking to get into underwater photography, highly recommend one of these. You can find more expensive casings. They'll probably serve you better, but if you're interested in getting your feet wet, pun not intended, with underwater photography, I recommend this casing in particular. And if I can find it, I'll add a link in the description. I would also recommend just passing note, because this is what I did. If you have a second body, use your second body. Don't use your main camera. For example, I think I shot this with a 6DD. Back in 2015, I was shooting with a 5D Mark II exclusively, but I bought a 50D or a 60D. I used 6DD specifically for this purpose and for any kind of shoot that I knew if this goes wrong, I might destroy my camera. I figured if I'm going to destroy a camera, I might as well destroy my secondary body, not my main body. So those are my tips. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy my work in general. If you want to see any more of it, you can find links in the descriptions to all my socials and my prints and everything like this. And give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and all that stuff. So take it easy, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.